There we go. Alright, welcome back to Retrospect My Fantasy, where we are currently taking a look at the Final Fantasy franchise from beginning to end. We're currently working on Final Fantasy 13. Now, before we really get going on this game, got a couple things to talk about. Number one is that we are currently partners with Humble. If you go to that link that I just threw up in chat, that'll take you to the Humble homepage, where you can sign up for a Humble Bundle, pick up an item from the Humble store, or subscribe to the Humble Monthly, which is a subscription-based service where you get games each month. Roughly between $120 and $150 worth of games put right into your Humble library. So the reason that I have chosen to seek out partnership with Humble, for those who may not know, is that I really enjoy their service. And it's not that they provide games, although they do usually provide some pretty good games. They don't kind of slack on that. But the main reason is because every purchase you make helps support charities. And by using that link, not only do you support those charities while picking yourself up some amazing games, but you help this channel as well. So, if you're looking at picking up a games, if you know there's a Humble Monthly that you, in particular, that you want to sign up for, or a particular Humble Bundle you want to pick up, please use that link and help support the channel a little bit. Now, let us get back to this game. So, why isn't it showing the game? There we go. So, what happened last time? Well, the team that crash landed the jet split into two. Zaz and Vanille are running away from their problems, and Lightning and Hope are heading into the problem head first. Meanwhile, Snow is been captured by another military group that kind of wants to help him so they can figure out whether or not Pulse Fal'Cie and Pulse Fal'Cie are actually evil or not. I think that's what they want. We don't really know yet. And apparently we're back with Lightning and Hope.
Can't believe we made it.
Oh, that's closing up behind us.
That'll slow down pursuit.
But aren't there troops on this side?
For most of the streams that we've had of this game thus far, we've had a topic of discussion
you watch our backs.
Not related to the game, because the game...
Actually, why don't you let me take point?
Okay. The game doesn't really offer a whole lot for us to analyze. Unlike the previous Final Fantasy games, there's not a whole lot of great story moments. There's not a whole lot of great character development, although this is a little nice. The fact that Hope is trying to step up and kind of impress Lightning, because Lightning didn't give up on him, even though he was slowing her down, and she kind of drove home that he needs to step up if he wants to survive this and achieve whatever it is he has to achieve with Snow.
I've got your back.
But the reason I bring up that we've been talking about all sorts of other interesting things is because last Friday I brought up an article that I thought I had read on Kotaku. It turns out it was Kotaku, and I got part of the details wrong. So first off, I'd like to clear that up. What I had said was that in this article, the individual we were talking about Kojima and why part of the reasons why he may have left Konami. And I had misquoted this article. I even said that I didn't quite remember, but still, it's on me to make this correction. I had said that The article may have insinuated that Kojima
Straight too far.
misappropriated funds for the making of PT because he didn't want to do Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. He wanted to make PT. As it turns out, no. PT project
It's all or
was
nothing.
approved by Konami, but what happened was they didn't actually fund it because they wanted him to finish up Phantom Pain, except he and his good friend Guillermo del Toro put up the money necessary to do PT. So, first off, my bad. Secondly, I had said that I read this on Kotaku, and a couple of people in chat immediately questioned its validity, and with good reason. And
Use the
so
lights as a guide
tonight's
to keep us moving in the
general
right direction.
topic is going to be on gaming journalism. Now, I don't know the whole history of gaming journalism, but I've been alive and reading a lot of gaming magazines and websites for a significant portion of my life. So, even though I don't know the complete history, I have a fair grounding in it. And the biggest thing that you need to know about gaming journalism is that it started in like science and engineering magazines for video games because they were new technology. So things like Popular Mechanic
Go chasing after enemies. It's a surefire
would
way to
get
get
some
ambushed.
article on some new console game from back in the day. Now, this eventually evolved into effectively advertising press. That was, for a while, the primary source of gaming journalism was pretty much pure advertising. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Gaming advertising is needed. Otherwise, how will you know, especially in an era where video games were few and far between, what new games are coming out and when and for what and how much they cost. So it was pretty much all advertising for the early,
That
like,
wasn't
I don't
so
know,
bad.
10, 15 years. And then,
Right behind you.
in terms of straight up journalism, one company finally decided to just publish something. And that company, Nintendo. They came out with a magazine to promote their products. So again, we're back to the advertising theme. But they didn't want to just promote
ever
their
been here
products,
before?
otherwise that's just like a sales
Or do you, I
magazine.
mean?
No, I haven't. This area is covered by the Woodlands Observation Battalion. You scared?
Not really. I'm ready to
Um,
fight if I have to.
the biggest reason why I bring this up is because
To keep you safe.
being one of the first magazines about video gaming,
I'll want
they
it back.
set the precedent for essentially
Lightning.
all gaming journalism to come.
I'm glad I followed you. By myself, I would have had no chance.
Now, we need to talk about another similar sort of situation that happened. I can't remember when. I want to say in like the 50s and 60s, maybe a little earlier than that, with early radio,
Trust me to cover
and
your
that
trail.
is
And stay focused on
when radio was really getting off the ground. The record companies
Don't need to rush.
would slip money into the record pouches for these radio stations as an incentive to play their album more frequently. This was known at the time as payola and was really badly looked down on. It caused a lot of problems, and then there was a whole I don't think there was a whole Senate subcommittee, but I know there was a regulatory commission put into place to make sure that these kind of things didn't happen. But no such thing like that has been put into place for gaming journalism. So if you ever wonder why, whenever you look at a game, in a magazine or on a website or anything like that, the scores for it don't drop below like a 7 in most cases, unless it's particularly bad.
You're doing fine, Hope. Keep it up.
That is because they're not being paid to effectively sell this product in their magazine. That's really what it comes down to. And so that is why, at least inherently, we can't really... I don't want to say that we can't trust gaming journalists, because we kind of have to, but they don't have the same sort of integrity that we would consider from like a newspaper, or actually really just newspapers. Newspapers have some of the highest integrity ratings for any sort of media, news media. And even those are biased and have become worse over time. If you're trying to just get like objective news. Part of it is that for gaming journalism, it's all rooted in advertisement, like not even like veiled, it's just advertising. So whenever we talk about gaming journalism, we have to remember the history that it comes from.
That wasn't so bad.
What does that leave us when we're looking at magazines or websites to try and determine if a game is good or not? All we have to really go on is peer review, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Peer review can be a very powerful tool. But it also doesn't necessarily mean anything. And the reason I say that is because there, in most niche groups like that, there is the sentiment of, like, protect your own. In that everyone else out in the world is out to get you, get your individual group, so you must protect them. Regardless of what your little niche group is.
The military uses this place for bioweapons research.
So there's a whole lot of that sort of thing going on in a lot of industries, and journalism in general is not immune to it, and especially gaming journalism is not immune to it. So
no holding back.
It makes it difficult to know who in that sphere is really trustworthy. Now, most during the same time period that something like Nintendo Power was going on, there was a Sega magazine, a Sega Genesis magazine. When the PlayStation came out, there was a PlayStation magazine. There was PC gaming magazines that were pretty much sponsored by Microsoft. So it all came from that same realm of advertising. Now, those were all advertising a particular platform. Like, look at these games that are on our awesome platform. But then we have things like IGN, which are not tied to a platform. Which, if you've read IGN over the years, clearly has gone from being more objective, like it was way back in the day, to being where there were games that got, I mean, they were few and far between, but there were games that would get 2s, 3s, 1 out of 10.
Stay down.
And now you're lucky to see a game drop below an 8 out of 10 in IGN. I mean, the movie industry has the same sort of thing going on, where if you, with the exception of a few independent critics, anyone that's tied to an organization is getting paid for a particular scoring.
Maybe we should try something else.
So
I've got your back.
it's very hard to tell what is truthful in that sphere and what is not.
I've got your back.
And I think that is in part why, like, YouTube, like Let's Plays and Twitch became so popular, is because you can just watch a game. You can just watch how a streamer reacts to the game and kind of get a feel for whether or not it's good or not. Whether it's going to be something you're going to enjoy or frighten you or whatever emotional response you're looking for, you can find that through the example of whoever you're watching. Whereas before, all we had to go on was these magazines that, frankly, weren't helpful. Now, as I said earlier, this is all brought up because I mentioned Kotaku, and something you need, if you are not well-versed in reading some of those older magazines, or weren't really into the gaming journalism like real early on,
What is it?
We need to hide.
then what you might not know is that when Kotaku first started, it hired a lot of
Seem like
people
they're even looking for us. I mean, we're
from those early magazines who
Psychom's
were let
keeping it all
go
under wraps.
when the magazine went under,
They don't
like
want their
GamePro
failure
or
publicized.
PlayStation
Better to lose
Magazine
us than
or
lose their pride.
So the other soldiers don't know about
other
us.
independent magazine
Right.
groups not tied to a console or
Right.
Xbox Magazine.
They don't know anything about
Actually,
any future.
any of them that are tied, especially those that are any of them that are tied to a console that isn't Nintendo based,
Over here.
because Nintendo Power is still going, and I think it is anyway. I know Nintendo products are still going, stronger than ever. And a big appeal of those magazines early on was that you could, a lot of them came with games or demos or various other BS
Good call.
that
Would this work better, Light?
made you want to buy it. Because if you already own a PlayStation, for instance, and you are potentially interested in a PlayStation magazine, but you're kind of on the fence about it, what if every issue, every month, you got like 8 demos? Random games, like you're not going to know what demos are going to be in which month until you buy the magazine, but still. That's free games. For, I mean, kind of. Xbox Magazine tried this very early on. a lot of the early magazines came with AOL trial CDs because the internet was still kind of in its infancy. Oh man, I remember at one point, just from GamePro magazine, having like 40 or 50 of those goddamn AOL CDs. Holy cow, so many of those things. Although those were also handed out free at like Fred Meyer's and Target and Walmart's, so... So this area here is probably the most indicative of what this game has to offer. In case you're wondering. Look at the minimap. And this is this game. It is just
Stay down.
pushing forward, sometimes with a slight angle. There is no real alternate paths that are not almost immediate dead ends. And in some cases just are. They usually have a single treasure chest right there.
That's it, Hope.
Also, this goes way back to when we were playing Final Fantasy X, but right at the end of 10, I made a comment about the linearity of 13 as opposed to the linearity of 10 in their gameplay. Especially their like map and environment design, because they are both very linear. The difference, the primary difference, and I'm not going to go all the way back to demonstrate it, but in most areas of this game, you cannot go backwards. Like, you can't, in most areas, you cannot leave a zone and then come back. Or go back to a previous zone. So, like, I think we can go down to the level below us where we started, but I don't think we can go back to the junkyard where we were before this zone. Now, this area is nicer than some of the previous areas that we've been in the fact that enemies are respawning, but it's at a very slow rate. And that is a major downside to the no random encounters thing that they've done in both 12 and 13. Is that the random encounters mean that it doesn't matter where you're at, you will always have enemies to fight. There is never any point where you will run out of enemies. And that's important because the key aspect of any RPG as opposed to other types of games is that if you can't progress, like if you can't beat a boss, you can go back. Ooh, timing is pretty messed up there. And grind. I mean, I remember back in the day we didn't used to call it grinding, we used to call it leveling. But you could go back and do what it took to get to the point where you could. Now, an important note about this game is that you can only grind so far. Like, yeah, I've mastered Ravager level 1. I can't do anything more with Ravager. Now I can go over here to Synergist and then to Medic and still gain a few things here and there, but I can only level up so far. Because it's not like previous games where we have job systems and levels, which are two different mechanics. This is all one mechanic. All of our levels are tied to this. which is in a weird way nice, going back to just a singular experience. Not gaining XP and AP or XP and LP. So that's kind of nice. It's the fact that it's limited. In any particular zone, you are limited. Or, sorry, at any particular point in the game, until near the end, you're limited. But, I mean, that's a decision that they made.
Just another battle.
Getting off that point, that little tangent, just to reiterate some of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of this game. And having a particularly good example at the moment. So, because Kotaku at one point was hiring what were at the time established journalists in the gaming sphere, there was an air of legitimacy to it. Now, at this point, from my understanding, and from what I've seen, it's pretty fair. Kotaku at this point has become effectively like a forum where people can write editorials and try and sell them to Kotaku, and Kotaku will just take them? That's what it seems like anyway?
Thank you.
And because I was over the weekend, I was looking at some of the other articles that are other articles. I was just looking at some of the articles that are currently on Kotaku, and I don't remember any of their names, but it was all trash. Very little of it had anything to do with the gaming spheres, and the few things that did were about like cons and cosplay and.
I got your back.
Oh. Yep, we lost it. Which is neat. It doesn't actually like do anything for us, as like if I was looking for actual information about games, it wasn't helpful in any way.
That could have gone
Good.
better.
Yeah, that could have been real bad. It's good. It's a good thing Hope didn't die. Also, the failure state in this is bullshit. I don't know how much time we've spent and how many curse words I've saved up, but I'm just gonna throw those out there. Use 2 now. Wait a second. I just noticed that. They've had a breadcrumb trail for me. It was not good enough that this was linear. They had a breadcrumb trail for me. If we go past some of these areas, it reactivates them until we go back over
Stay
them.
alert.
They've had a breadcrumb trail for me. God. Really? Alright, well, if this is where they want me to go, I guess it's about time we get there. Research corridor, huh?
Calm. We don't need to rush. Concentration's important, but never lose sight of what's happening around you.
Unicorn Mart now has antidotes. That's good. That means that there's going to be I'm actually going to need to use those soon, aren't I? 150, that's pretty dang good. Resist, deprotect, resist, de-shell. Okay. Raw materials for bioengineering. Oh. So are all these... I'm just going to assume that those are all mats for upgrading. Well, they saw us, but we still got them from the back arc, but it doesn't matter because this isn't a miniatures game. Although you might not be able to tell that by just looking at it. So, speaking of journalism and gaming, I'm sure you all heard about the Drake and Ninja thing, which is kind of neat in the fact that it brought a whole bunch of people to Twitch that might not have gone looking for that type of experience without that kind of promotion. But, because there's always a but with me, isn't there? The question comes, how, like, I think that the risk that, as a culture, Twitch and nerdism in general took with that kind of promotion was ultimately a good thing, because as being no, not for most people. How he gets that is he's probably got a number of people. Like, this is pure speculation on my part, but he's probably got, before that event, he probably had, I don't know, a whole bunch of subscribers, and as a partner, I'm assuming you get more than affiliates do. Affiliates get 50% of their subscriber value each month. They split it with Twitch, and I'm assuming that partners get more. Plus bits, plus tips, plus Patreon. Like, the amount that he claimed in that interview, I think is probably a little bit of exaggeration. But if he had said 200,000 for someone as big as he is, I would not be having the same kind of reaction to that amount of money that I am currently. My biggest thing is I've heard some people bring up that they didn't like it because it was, so first of all, from my understanding, a significant number of the individuals were 100% new to Twitch. And my question is that a good thing? I think so. I think it's a good thing that we try and expand what Twitch is to how many people. Now, do I personally think that
Let's keep this up.
If Drake was into video gaming in any what I would call serious manner, he probably already would have had a Twitch channel, but he didn't. They had to set one up for that event. But that's, you know, whatever. That's here nor there. But there are other individuals who work in the same portion of the entertainment industry that Drake does, who do game regularly on Twitch and specifically attempt to not make a big deal out of it because they don't want their normal celebrity is fame. That's the word I'm looking for. They don't want their out of context fame to be ruining what for them would otherwise be just another performance. Because a lot of celebrities, the role that we see them, like not just in TV and movies or on stage, but when they're doing interviews, when they're anything like that, they're playing a character. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that the one in particular that I'm thinking of is Snoop Dogg. I have no doubt in my mind that Snoop Dogg definitely smokes a whole lot of weed. A whole lot of weed. But he kind of plays up not the amount of weed, but like the effects that it's had on him.
Way to go.
Because to a lesser degree, I mean, that is his character. He plays video games. It's just a normal thing for him. He does it not like all the time. He doesn't stream it all the time, but he does it. The question is
I've got your back.
are paid celebrity promotions worth the potential risk of bringing in a whole bunch of trolls or people that I don't really know how to put this to words, but I do have an example of the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So, several years ago, I used to hang out at a local gaming store playing War Machine. It's a miniatures combat game similar to 40K or Warhammer Fantasy, but steampunk. It's kind of neat. The models are really cool and high quality, whatever. And one day, we were all just kind of hanging out, playing, and a bunch of granted, they're middle school kids, they're immature, they're trying to be funny for their friends, usually. But one of them just walks in to the shop and just makes a big deal of saying something to the effect of, "It smells like nerd in here." Now, every single one of us were just like, what the heck was the point of that? Even the best part was, even his friends were like, dude, what the hell? But like, that kind of attitude that, like, as a community, nerd culture has done a lot to try and, I don't want to say gain legitimacy, because we were never, like, illegitimately around, but like, as the portion as the people who are supposed to take all kinds, because we're kind of the outcasts, at least were at one point, that would be very difficult to argue currently.
Maybe we should try something else.
What with the rise of like comic book movies and similar, but
Here.
Good call.
is the risk of opening ourselves up to that kind of ridicule worth people who might not have known that they were nerds, or even had an inkling of what like being a nerd was or anything like that,
How about this, Light?
and bringing those people to maybe experience something and enjoy it that they might not otherwise go out of their way to do so? And I think yes. I think that risk is worth it. Now, I know there's a number of people that'll say, no, it's not worth it. Being ridiculed for something that you love is not okay. And it's not. But I think being open enough being the ones that to be open and ooh, that's and being willing to accept that to try and bring others into our world and grow our communities, I think is worth the risk. Because if we don't take risks like that, our community is only going to stagnate.
I've got to be stronger.
And stagnation is not okay, is not good for any community. Growth is far more important.
I wonder how the others are doing.
Saz and Vanille? Who knows? Even if they got away,
But I still have to wonder.
they'll get caught eventually. Then they'll have to choose. Resist or
Like,
surrender.
nerd culture has been on the rise for a long time. In large
think
part thanks to
he's still
TV and a large number of nerds growing up and
You mean Snow?
finding their way into various
He's too stubborn to die.
other
And that's his
industries.
best quality. He's arrogant and
and-
chummy from the get-go. He thinks he's everybody's pal. Never liked
Like-
him much. He leads around a bunch of kids. Gang
How,
called
how do I
Nora.
want to put this?
Where'd they get the name Nora?
We've infiltrated
It's a stupid acronym.
a bunch of other
Their little code stands
communities.
for no obligations, rules, or authority. Must be nice.
And because we've infiltrated these other
It's
organizations, we've had the influence to help make them more accepting of nerd culture. And by them becoming more accepting of nerd culture, we've been able to grow nerd culture as a whole. I mean, there are more nerds now that are out in the open than ever before. And that is fabulous. But how part of what I'm afraid of is that because
There are a
we'll
lot of feral creatures here
because of
too.
something like
They're a
what
little
occurred,
different
we
from
will be
military breeds.
opening
This is
up
an army facility for turning wildlife
more,
into
opening up
weapons.
ourselves up to criticism again.
Civilians aren't allowed in here, are they?
Are
We'll have to
we
be sure and
just
tell them when we see
reopening
them.
some of those gaps between nerd culture of today and nerd culture of the past? And that kind of has me worried, because if we open up some of those old divides between nerds and not nerds, that is going to push one of the two groups into the ostracized camp, and that's not good. I've long held this belief that everyone is a nerd. What you're a nerd about, that's whatever you're passionate about. You can be a nerd for football. You can be a nerd for baseball. In fact, I would say that people who are really into baseball, like really into baseball, are probably some of the first nerds. Modern nerds. Because, do you have any idea how much, like, actually, batting average math is not that hard, but keeping track of the number of stats that any particular player or team would have, that you'd have to memorize, and, like, I would argue that they are some of the first nerds, modern nerds. I would say, like, Renaissance men like Leonardo and Michelangelo were probably some of the first nerds.
Fences are for containing the animals. If we take care of our pet mates, they should power down.
I can do this.
But the way I've always tried to describe nerd culture to people who aren't nerds is that being a nerd is just being passionate about something. And that it doesn't matter what you're passionate about. Sports, lifting, video production, cars. You're a nerd regardless of what it is. As long as you are actually like passionate about it, love participating in that, you're a nerd. Now, common vernacular would say no. That if you're into anything physically active, like weightlifting or sports, that you're not a nerd. Because nerds don't do anything physical. Except when you start looking at what like kind of an archetypal nerd is, they usually, like, especially in when a large portion of the stigma, like the 70s and 80s, it would, like, nerds were the guys that rode bikes everywhere. Like, that's how they got to school every day. That's how they got to college. That's how they got to work. They rode a bicycle. Well, bicycles are, depending on how far you have to go and your environment, are pretty physically demanding. So, yeah. So, I think that as a culture, we have been bucking those kinds of trends for a very long time. And that as we continue to do so, we will just continue to grow overall as a community to be...
We can win this.
I mean, everybody's own nerd in my book.
Would this work better, Light? Thank you.
So the question becomes, like, how do we express that to individuals who might otherwise try to argue those points? Is it worth an argument? I think it's probably not worth the argument. But also, like, what... I don't know. This is a very complicated socio-political situation, and I don't really... I haven't had time to formulate all of my opinions yet. But something like this Drake Ninja thing has been gathering major media attention. Even down to, like, podunk little local news stations have covered it. So whatever advertising ploy was used to get Drake involved has clearly worked. But has it worked for the better? I like to believe so. I hope so. I want it to be so, but only time will tell. This is one of those situations that's too much for any one person at the ground level trying to figure it out to do so. Ooh, an additional accessory slot. Dang. Almost got 2 whole rolls out of that. Or almost finished off a second whole sphere. Crystarium. She's almost got a second one as well. It's good. Now these guys are worth a lot, so I'm going to see if I can't go back a little ways and see if they've respawned it all. Because while we can get some grinding in, we really should. As there's not... Because of how linear this game is, it kind of forces a pace of always going forward. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if that's clearly what they wanted. They wanted to drive the story. Whew. Lightning. They're getting a little messed up. There we go. Whew. She is one bad mother. Oh hey, we can get up there. I was a little worried about that. And it doesn't look like they've respawned at all. It's probably because the area is too small. Little sluggos.
No holding back.
That's it, Hope. Stay down.
I kind of exhausted my little spiel on gaming journalism, specifically because there's an event that happened not that long ago that I don't want to talk about. It's been exhausted to the extreme. But I am a firm believer that right now, video game journalists are, for the most part, nothing but advertising robots. They are getting paid by developers
Stay down.
for favorable reviews. It's nothing but payola all over again. And that looking further into Kotaku over the weekend, as some of my viewers' reactions to my claim that I read an article on Kotaku made me want to do, has brought me to the conclusion that, because I remember back in the day, Kotaku wasn't all bad, but looks like it's nothing but a whole bunch of editorials and forums for people to rant on, and that sometimes, I'm assuming, they pay people for the articles that they actually publish and advertise. Otherwise, they're just taking advantage of the forums and articles that people write for them. Which, given the current business environment that we live in, I would not be surprised if I found out that they were just using these people's articles without actually crediting them. Or not credit. They are getting credit because their names and pictures are at the head of the articles, but without actually getting paid. Ooh, we might have gotten... Oh, never mind, can't go back.
Caged in like the animals.
Indeed you are. Look at that big boy.
How about this, Light?
Yep, Lightning, please take care of him. Ooh. Damn.
Good call.
This guy hurt. And he's pretty much only attacking... we already have Protect. Nope. We're gonna go to Yin Yang. So he can get a little bit of heals. Feral Behemoth, huh? How is this more powerful than the other behemoths we were fighting? Because they had a name that certainly invoked more fear. Alright, Lightning, now you can heal yourself.
I've got your back.
Come on. Woo! Dang it. You were right there. Alright, Light, you got this. Come on. There we go. Now we're getting some good damage in. Damn. Lightning is on it.
We've tripped the security alarm. The observation battalion will be coming.
Well, we should probably
Let
get
him
out of here
come.
then. Alright, so we've mastered Ravager and Synergist. Not very far into Medic. It's alright, because she's not going to be very far into Medic either. In fact, not even there. No items. No, of course not. Fought a really tough enemy? Why would there possibly be items?
You can handle a climb like this.
What? That wasn't a climb. I don't know what that was, but it certainly wasn't a goddamn climb. That was a hop, skip, and a jump. Whew. That is a lot of slugs.
Stay down.
Come on, Lightning, please keep on using Blitz. Whew. Hope almost died. That could have been real bad. Yeah, but something's about to happen. So we are gonna level up all we can. Dang. She is not very far along that path.
Take
Oh well.
5.
Ah, he's got it. He doesn't need to take a breather. Also, he's playing with a knife. Okay, so she gave him a
What's
knife,
eating you?
but he doesn't
Okay,
use it
I
in
can tell
combat.
you're hung up on something. Is it the Lassie thing? It's snow, isn't it?
What? How did you piece that together?
What happened with him?
You wouldn't understand.
Really?
You and I are partners, Hope.
Also, might want to cover that brand up a bit better.
My mother was killed because of him.
That's, I mean, he couldn't hold on, but also she was
It's
pretty
his
messed
fault.
up.
And he
Also,
needs
that
to
is
pay
a
for it.
really smooth opening
I'm
knife.
not ready yet, but I will be soon.
That also has almost no blade.
That's why I followed you. Snow dragged us all into this. You and me, your sister Sarah. He's gotta pay.
Damn. Alright,
Gotta be stronger.
so now we're back to controlling her. So what are our paradigms again? I don't need this one. We'll go with Commando and Medic. How about that?
I'll take the lead.
That'll probably work a little bit better. So nothing
to
over
move.
here.
You just have to face your fear. Then you can take on anything.
That's not really how that works.
I'll
No,
never
it's,
pull this off if I don't toughen up.
it hasn't been that long since we saved. We're probably fine. Why aren't we blitzing when they were right next to each other?
Nothing personal.
Ouch, missed her. Oh well. Woo! Surprised we got there without killing him.
Easy.
No, you say that now. Wow, slightly branching path. What's over here?
Let's get this over with.
Maybe we should just summon Odin for all these fights. Screw it. No. We'll save our technique points, or I think that's what they're supposed to be. Also, these things are called Silver Lobo, which I know is kind of a classic Final Fantasy creature, but whenever I see the name Lobo, all I can think about is the comic book character, the main man, the biker, Lobo, from DC.
Easy.
That's all that comes to mind. This item had better be freaking worth it. Star pendant? Let's see. Poison resist. Well. An iron bangle. Do a silver bangle. Now he has almost as many hit points as she does. That's just another. For a second there, I thought it was a. From back there, I thought it was a cage. Okay. Sure. Whatever you say, game. Let's see if we can't get that second accessory for her. Oh no, we can't. We're way off from that. Well, let's see if we can't get another magic spell for him. I think we might actually be pretty... No, we're not anywhere close to another spell either. Never mind. I don't know what's going on with these levels. Actually, yeah, we're nowhere near anything. Aside from a few more stat points. Which, I mean, is fine, but... Just cut it.
Could I use one of those?
Bit too heavy for you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's clearly, something wrong with that boy. That boy ain't right. I don't know where I got that from, but...
You became a lessee, so now you're gonna marry this idiot? And you think I'm gonna buy that? Full points for originality. But don't forget, if you really are a lessee, it's my job to deal with you. Sis. This is ridiculous. Worst birthday ever.
Wait, Sarah!
That was very insensitive.
Why won't you believe her?
Like,
You kidding me?
extraordinarily.
She gets made a lessee and you pop the question?
Lightning, stop it!
No, you stop it! Get out of my house.
You're shutting her out! She's your sister!
Maybe she's just shutting you out.
Fine. I'll do it.
Wanna be Cypher. What if Zell wore Cypher's coat? That's what snow is. All the impulsiveness and other BS of Zell. With Cypher's coat. Which is, to be fair, Cypher's best quality.
How practical.
We interrupt this program to bring you an urgent Sanctum bulletin.
Okay.
Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a pulse fal'Cie inside the city of Bodum. Acting with fal'Cie Eden's approval, authorities declared a state of emergency. The entire district will be quarantined in response to this crisis. This is a Sanctum bulletin. Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a pulse fal'Cie inside the city of Bodum.
Well, screwed up there,
Sarah,
Lightning.
I should have listened to you.
Oh well. It's not like anything became of that anyway, right? Sarah's fine. We're fine. Nothing bad happened at all. A couple of Lobo and some slimes.
Fighting thanks to you.
No, kid, you're not getting any better at fighting. I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but... Whew. Them flips. She is an acrobatic gal.
Target's a target.
Wow. Target's a target. That is pretty harsh.
Come on, Light.
Woo. Hope you better take care of yourself, kid. Well, that's that. The really bad enemy's dead. And then these things, which are essentially really weak bombs.
Out of my way!
Bam.
That's how it's done.
Okay, we heard that. That's how it's done. Now that we know how it's done, maybe we can follow in the example and press A a whole bunch to confirm that we're going to do attacks. Because that's pretty much all I did for that fight. I know, super technical. I'll have to come up with another topic for tomorrow because I was kind of expecting the journalism one to take longer, but I was able to get my points out. Not succinctly, but I was able to get them all out. Yeah, it looks like he's gathering some power in that little pouch. No, he's dead, so it doesn't matter. I just mostly rambled for like an hour, but... Ooh. See, and this is why I have not done any weapon upgrades so far. So magic would go up a little bit. Go up by 5, and we would lose 7 at strength. No, thank you. But we could probably get further along those paths. Dang it. Just want to get the second accessory, damn it. Well, I guess he's kind of leveling up a little bit, but not really. What's wrong? What's wrong is you were in my way until I ran past you. That's what was wrong. You should always be in my way. Otherwise, how are you gonna know when you're in my way?
Stay down. Keep it up.
Barbed Spectre. Well, now that it's staggered, it's pretty much screwed. Do you guys have any topics you'd like me to exposit about? And we've done a lot on game development, like a lot.
You picked the wrong fight.
Ooh, hey there, buddy. 90's probably not enough to get much, but if we only get like in HP or yeah, see, a little bit. That goes a long way. All right. You really want to know where I'm from? Since I've said it a number of times on stream anyway. Born and raised Eugene, Oregon. I've lived briefly in Washington, briefly in California, Astoria, Portland, Salem, Springfield,
Keep your mind on the battle.
but mostly Eugene. Marcola. And when I say briefly Washington and briefly Eugene, like months, or briefly Eugene, briefly California and briefly Washington, a few months. So, some people wouldn't consider that, but at the time when I was a little kid, I did, so I still do, to a much lesser extent.
Come on, Light. Here.
Grew up watching the Ducks.
Come on, Light.
Good call.
Not a big fan of sports, so that didn't last very long.
Here. Come on, Light.
Love the weather, and that's primarily why I stay and don't go anywhere else. There was a very brief time where I considered moving to the Phoenix, Arizona area when I was in my early 20s for a girl. And that didn't go anywhere. And I'm glad because I would have been stuck there.
I'm gonna go look ahead.
Pretty much everyone I've ever known who has left Eugene growing up came back and told me to, and pretty much told me to never move
Who'd have thought there'd be
because
traps here?
even though Eugene isn't the best place ever, it is overall better than
Nothing I
pretty
can't
much
handle.
anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest.
Out of my way!
Now, I've never been to Seattle, but I've been to Tacoma and oh god. Why can't I think of all the dumb places I visited as a kid to visit family? And like Tacoma was fine, but I'm not sure I would want to live there.
Target's a target.
I have no idea what you're saying, by the way, Henry. Tolo Muzak Mukamak? Eugene's... People in Eugene like to think it's a big city, but it's
Be
not.
ready for the next
It's
fight.
a suburb surrounding a university. And even then, I feel like I'm being generous with that description. Whew. We're gonna mess him up. Eugene really is, I wouldn't call it a small town either, but it is, it really is best described as a suburb. Pretty much the entire city revolves around the university, even to the point where the university can kind of bully private landowners into selling their properties so that they can buy them to build new sports arenas and the like. Which I don't know, like, that doesn't sound like it should be like the typical sort of thing that goes on in a town, but it is. At least it is here. Also, Eugene has no parking anywhere. I mean, that's not entirely true. There are a couple of parking structures, but... Phoenix down.
Good call.
There we go. Like, there's a few parking structures, and a few companies have small parking lots, but for the most part, Eugene is pretty devoid of parking.
Come on, Light.
It's really bad, actually, to the point where, like, if you want to go anywhere, you're gonna have to park sometimes, especially if there's like an event or something going on, a mile, 2 miles away and walk. If you want to go downtown to go to like a bar or something, just walk. Don't drive. Not because of like drinking and driving, which is a bad thing. But you will lose your car while you're drunk because you won't know where it is.
Come on, Light.
Thanks.
Here.
Let's go for Super Soldier. Let's get some of that Protect. Ooh, that was a quick save there. Hope.
Come on, Light.
Also, the only thing we have for entertainment, really, aside from like movies and the internet, is anything involving university sports. So if you're not into that, the town is kind of dull if you don't have something else. Although there is a pretty big nerd community in Eugene, Eugene Springfield, in that we have a fairly large number of gaming stores. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, maybe 8 gaming stores for a region this small is pretty massive. Although there's not a whole lot of a whole lot of exchange. You pretty much go to whatever gaming store is either nearest you or that your friends go to, and that's it. Fragrant oils. Ooh. Of course, we've got, you know, the obligatory, like, malls and other suburbanite bullshit. But that's because you kind of have to. One nice thing about living in this area is if you're into the outdoors, which when I was much younger I was far more into it than I am now. There's, from downtown Eugene, you can walk, yes, walk,
On your toes.
to 3 large hiking areas. If you wanted to, I would suggest driving, but you can walk to them. You can either go, we've got like 5 or 6 lakes in the immediate vicinity. We're like within a couple hours drive. We've got, what else is there? Within a couple hours you can make your way to Portland, which is actually a really big city. Within, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours during ski season, there's a reasonable ski lodge. If you are okay with driving most of the day, you can get some really nice ones. Just a few hours away from the beach. Not that Oregon beaches are very picturesque, but I wouldn't necessarily call them. They're not. It's not like California beaches. You don't go there and like sunbathe or like surf. Although you do occasionally see someone out there surfing, and they're usually in a dry suit because it gets cold in Oregon beaches or off the Oregon coast. So there is a lot to do in terms of outdoor fun, if that's your thing. If not, I hope you like sports or nerd culture or staying at home. Oh, actually, no, there's one really nice thing about living in Eugene. Music. There is a big music scene in Eugene. Not so much, like, there's of course like the local stuff, but I mean like fairly notable acts will come through Eugene, and I mean they're not the biggest shows, but they'll play some fairly intimate venues. And if you're into kind of the country culture, like rodeos and that sort of thing, that is big here in the summer. But that's about the long and short of Eugene. It's mostly a small town trying to disguise itself as a big town. just the fact that it takes me about an hour to go from one side of Eugene to the other on a bicycle should tell you about how big it is. It's not very. That's gonna hurt. No, I ride a bike because I used to own a car. I've owned 2 cars, and every once in a while I drive either of my housemates or sometimes my parents' car for various reasons, like moving or getting groceries or whatever, or being a DD. But even when I owned a car, I didn't really drive that much. I mostly walked or rode my bike. I just prefer it. I mean, I've never pumped my gas, but whatever. If I had to pump my gas because I was at a rural gas station, which can't always have an attendant, that's fine. I would do it, but most of the major cities, you still don't have to pump your gas. Because even though they made it so that they can make you pump your own gas, it's so ingrained at this point in Eugene's culture that you don't have to pump your own gas. Alright, well, no items, so let's keep going. Well, that's a lot of boys over there. Some Lobos surrounding, looks to be some soldiers. Alright, well, this is going to be it for both of these characters' Crystariums for the moment. Until they push forward, everything is done for them. They're just going to be building up a stockpile of experience for the future. Which is where I would rather have them be anyway. No, I mean, they always, like, pumping gas is kind of the, at least here, is generally used as kind of the, like, if you can't get a job doing anything else, you can always pump gas. So, if it's considered low-hanging fruit of jobs, it can't possibly be that terribly difficult. And if that's the case, then, yeah, I'm pretty secure that I could figure out how to pump my own gas.
Thanks.
That being said, typically when I do have to drive, the tank is already full, so don't have to worry about it. I'm okay with that.
Come on, Light.
Come on, Light. You got this.
Here.
Farron, as your name actually is.
Come on, Light.
No. What I'm most afraid of when it comes to driving is other drivers. Because, now granted, a car is a lot easier to see than a bicycle, but I've been hit while on my bike several times by drivers. Usually what happens is I'll be going past like a driveway in a small residential area, or I'll be going past the exit of a parking lot, and they're not paying attention, they're on their phone, they're adjusting their radio, they're buckling their seatbelt, and they just go.
Good call.
This happened a lot more when I was a lot younger. And though I would never be at fault, because I was always in a bike lane or on a sidewalk, I was realistically partially at fault because I wasn't paying enough attention. Like I could have, had I been paying more attention, I could have stopped probably and avoided being hit. But I'm paying for it now. I've
What
got
happened here?
a number of
Bad luck.
small
They came looking
fractures
for us.
and
And found something worse.
banged up
We can't just leave them
joints
like
and
Don't touch anything. Control your emotions. If you want to survive, you forget about sympathy.
and of course when I was young and dumb, just pushed
How
through
can
and
I explain?
didn't hurt that much. So, but now I'm paying for it.
Think of it like a strategy. Focus on your ultimate goal and shut out everything else. Still your mind. Move on instinct.
His ultimate goal is to stab Snow.
Let doubt take over, and despair will cripple you.
That almost sounds like it's from personal experience.
Strategy. Good. I'll take anything to help me get through this.
So I'm mostly afraid of other drivers who are not paying attention.
I'll call it Operation Nora.
I've seen
Nora.
more than a few drivers
My
in
mother's name.
my day-to-day job that
Your revenge.
inspire
Yes.
me to believe that
Don't tell me.
Oregon drivers are bad.
I know
But then
getting
again,
revenge on him-
everyone says that every driver from every other
Bring
state
him
is bad.
back.
So my
I know
conclusion is
that.
that every driver is bad.
But sorry won't cut it.
Snow didn't kill your mother. The Sanctum did.
That's
Whose
true.
side are you on?
The side of truth.
Dude, you
Fine.
need to learn how to flick that open.
I'll fight the Sanctum with you. I'll learn to survive.
He is totally
How
going
can
to
you
self-harm.
judge someone else when you know that you're the same? Even I have dark secrets. Secrets I'd rather forget.
Huh. I wonder what that could be. Well, here comes a whole bunch of soldiers. And by a whole bunch, I mean a few guys.
Back me up.
Block? What? Enemies can block? Since when?
Out of my way!
Ooh, Hope, you are getting a little messed up there, man.
Just hang on! Keep up with me, Hope.
Well, I've screwed it up enough times on stream anyway. Whatever. In fact, in one of the real early episodes, I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to somebody who was considering moving to Oregon. I doubt it, but it is the Springfield in The Simpsons. And that is because Matt Groening, the original creator of The Simpsons, grew up in Portland, so a lot of the stuff that is in The Simpsons is a reference to growing up in Portland, or just living in Oregon. A lot of characters are named after streets. So Springfield, Oregon is the Springfield Simpsons. Moe's Tavern is modeled after a bar here in Eugene called Max's. Ooh, we're gonna fight a hover bike. This ought to be fun. Milvis Velocycle. Velocycle? I'd be really surprised if Springfield, Oregon was the first Springfield. But I'll just put it that way. Because I don't know. But I really doubt it.
Come on, Light. Good call.
Dude, Hope, please, thank you.
Follow my lead, Hope.
Oh, that doesn't look good.
Keep up with me, Hope.
Ouch. Oh, well now it's screwed. Hey guys, how's it going? I could have totally ran past you if I wanted to. Now, let's do a little super soldier here.
Here.
Fire resistance, eh?
Here.
It's probably a good call.
Target's a target.
Come on, Light.
Come on, Hope. Figure shit out.
Here. Come on, Light.
Dude, Hope, you are way more hurt than I was. Figure yourself out, please.
Here.
Good call.
Come on. We got this. Yeah, we'll just switch over. Get this fight over with more quickly.
Keep it up.
Whew. I don't know what Snow did, or Snow, Hope did, but that was... seemed
No
powerful.
problem.
Oh, that does not look very fun. Restore the party's TP. Well, our TP is currently full, so that is not necessary. $8:45. All right, got enough time. We could probably finish this off.
We can win if we stay focused. Follow my lead, Hope.
Alright, so first off, we're gonna kill the marksman.
Thanks. Target's a target.
What are you doing, Hope? Being an idiot, apparently.
Keep up with me, Hope. Come on, like a call.
I wish there was a way I could take certain abilities just off.
Thanks.
Like in like Star Ocean games, where they have access to all their abilities, except for those you tell them they can't have. Whew,
Good call.
that could have been bad.
Follow my lead.
Come on. Hope you're not really that good of a combatant right now. In fact, you do kind of crap damage, and your spells do a lot of stagger, so that's something at least. Oh, look at that. All done. Ooh, we got a digital circuit. As opposed to an analog circuit, I'm presuming.
Something bad's about to happen.
Because it is. Don't touch anything. Yeah, this looks really bad. I don't know what that is. That just looks bad.
Move it. What's going on?
It's a very good question. Oh, there's a door, so that's something. Well, shit.
This is it. Operation Nora.
And you're gonna fight it with a boomerang. This biomechanical creature.
Follow
Hey,
my
let's
lead.
go for Super Soldier and see what that
Come on,
gets us.
Thanks.
Whew. That sucked. Damn. It's a good thing we had Protect on.
Here.
Good call.
Come on, Light.
I'm assuming we're going to want Ravager once we're all healed up. Because bosses are kind of the way that you want as much damage output as possible. Alright, so it has protection from fire. Oh, no, it does fire damage. thing's got a lot of hit points.
Here.
Okay. Interesting.
Come on, Light.
Good call.
I see your point, and I would like to counter with my sword. Ooh. Ow.
Time to switch it up.
That freaking hurt.
Here.
And that was with shell. Damn. That wasn't so bad, because it only hit one person. Although, this enemy clearly has the potential to be very dangerous to a larger group.
Keep up with me, Hope.
And this definitely seems like the kind of thing where we're supposed to be kind of picking our elements based on the damage the damage type that it is set up as.
Follow my lead.
Come on, come on.
Come on, Light. Here. Come on, Light.
Oh, Hope, you are getting your butt whooped right now. Position heal thyself. Ow.
Keep up with me, Hope.
Alright, back to fire damage, huh? Alright, alright. I see what you're doing. To be honest, I was kind of hoping we would actually get back to Snow's storyline. Because I don't remember exactly when, but Snow's storyline opens up some more avenues for us to go down. I'm pretty sure that's coming up soon, but I don't know exactly when. Alright, so we've gotten about half of its life gone during that stagger business. Okay, time to bring back War and Peace. Oh, it's because we lost our buffs. So we're gonna need to activate Super Soldier again here once we're all healed up. God, man, we're using a lot of Phoenix. Whoa!
And so it ends.
Okay. I was not expecting that. Alright. Well played, game. Well played. What time is it? 8:56. Well, I am sorry, but we'll have to save that boss fight for tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I especially want to thank Twan and Hi Mr. Henry for participating in chat tonight. Remember that we have our 50 follower celebration at the end of the month, where I'll be giving away some games and some Steam gift cards, along with playing Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3. Season 3. Also, we recently, well, actually less recently now, but we are partners with Humble. So if you're looking at picking up some games, please go take that link and check out the Humble store. You might find some awesome games that you're looking for on sale. They frequently run sales outside of like when Steam or Uplay would run sales. On top of that, you are supporting charities, and by using that link to get there, you're helping support this channel. All the current proceeds are going to be going towards improving our lighting situation. So, lost my train of thought. Damn it. It's been happening a lot today. Anyway, so please, if you're already looking at picking up a game, or if you're looking at picking one up in the near future, please use my link to help support the channel. Anyway, I want you guys to have a wonderful night. I hope you will join me tomorrow, where we will pick back up in Final Fantasy 13 and hopefully defeat that boss and hopefully have some more awesome discussions. I'll try and come up with another topic for tomorrow. Have a good night.